Hey, what's up, everybody? True Boxing here, and thank you for coming back to get hit with the truth. So today we are doing the Taylor versus Catterall 2 breakdown video. As Josh Taylor, the former undisputed junior welterweight champion at 140 pounds, is set to return on Saturday, May 25th in the main event of an ESPN and DAZN card from the United Kingdom, as he is going to do battle with the former world title challenger Jack Catterall in a rematch from their 2022 bout that ended in controversy. Now, before we get into that, if you could smash the like button, leave a comment, or subscribe to the channel, I really do appreciate any and all support that I can get as I continue to build my channel here. So this fight, first off, if you haven't seen my breakdown videos before, I talk about the fight and what it means, and everything going on with the fight, and like I said, and what it means for the sport, the division, and then I get into each fighter individually and talk about, and ask the same questions on both sides. I really break down the fight. Then once I'm done with both fighters, I ask one question at the end, and then finally I give my prediction on the fight. So in a fight like this, we go with the A side and then the B side. So we're going to talk about Josh Taylor first, and then we'll talk about Jack Catterall second. So let's jump into it and start talking about this fight and what it means. So this fight, it's a personal rivalry right here. Their first fight ended in controversy. Jack Catterall seemingly outboxed and outworked Josh Taylor for the undisputed title that day. It was in February of 2022. Most people feel that was, a big robbery. That was my most controversial decision of 2022. And, a lot of people feel that Taylor escaped with the title. I think he even took a knockdown in that fight and still was able to secure a draw, a victory. Josh Taylor actually got the win and stayed the undisputed champion for the moment. But again, that was marred in controversy. And ever since then, Jack Catterall has been trying to secure a rematch. And he's almost had it a couple times already. The first time was later that year where Taylor actually gave up all 3 of his 4 belts to try to get the rematch, and then it didn't happen. Finally now, though, this fight will take place on May 25th, and these two will settle their score. A lot riding on it. It's big for the division. The winner can push forward towards likely another title shot. But again, this is just a personal rivalry. They do not like each other, so a lot hanging on this one. So let's start with the A side, the former undisputed junior welterweight world champion Josh Taylor, and let's look at what he's done his last 3 fights coming into this one, because that's usually what we go based on. Now, has not been very active. He's fought about once per calendar year the last 3 years. Which date back, his last 3 fights have been about once per calendar year, dating back to actually May of 2021, where he became the undisputed champion when he recorded the best win of his career, defeating Jose Ramirez in a unification bout. Ramirez held the WBC and WBO belts, while Taylor held the WBA and IBF titles. And Taylor outworked and even hurt Ramirez a couple times, and defeated him by a convincing unanimous decision. Well, actually, I think it ended up being a majority decision, surprisingly, but Taylor won that fight outright and became the undisputed junior welterweight champion of the world at 140 pounds, impressively. And became, there was kind of the start after Canelo had done it. It was kind of a part of that era, that year where people really started focusing on undisputed again. you know, and it was just I think actually Taylor did it 6 months before Canelo accomplished that feat. So it was a major win right there, really made Taylor a big star. Then he would return in, 9 months later against Jack Catterall in that first fight. And Catterall was his mandatory #1 contender, hadn't really beaten anybody though. And surprisingly, Catterall, seemingly outworked Taylor and should have got the victory and pretty much got robbed, according to a lot of people. So after that, he was supposed to be making mandatories, and one by one he started letting go of 3 of his 4 belts. He gave up the WBA, the IBF, and the WBC belts instead of fighting his mandatories. He was focused on a rematch with Catterall that never came. And then finally, after a 16-month layoff, he returned last year in June and defended his title against his #1 contender, Teofimo Lopez. And Taylor came in the favorite. Everybody thought that the fight with Catterall was kind of a fluke, that he was going to take it serious. Lopez had not looked good in his prior fight against Sandor Martin, and really hadn't looked great since he lost to George Kambosos. So a lot of people thought that that Taylor was gonna beat Lopez, and Lopez outboxed Taylor en route to a convincing 12-round unanimous decision, and Taylor would lose the first fight of his career. So Taylor 19-1 now, 13 knockouts. Wants win number 20, wants to leave, no doubt, but I think he's hungry, or else he wouldn't have taken this fight. But it's 11 months since his last fight. He has not been active, and he's coming in though, wanting to really prove that he's the better man with Catterall. And I think the fact that he's fighting at 140 against Catterall speaks to his passion and desire to leave, no doubt, because he very easily, especially with it not being a title fight, he very easily could have fought Catterall at a catchweight. But he's going in 140, wanting to get right back in the mix against the top guys. And now that 140 is maybe the best, one of the best divisions in boxing, maybe the best, it's really a sense of urgency now with him at 33 years old. So a lot riding on this fight for Josh Taylor. Now, what does he need to do to win this fight? He needs to use his height. The reach is about the same, but he's got a 3-inch height advantage. He needs to use that height. I think he needs to throw a jab. He needs to not let Catterall be the counter puncher. I think he needs to mix it up. Use the angles, but again, use the height advantage. If he can do that, he can be successful. I think he can pot shot from the outside and land some good shots, and I think he might be able to pull it off if he can. The footwork's got to be there and his stamina's got to be there. So those 3 things are key for Josh Taylor in this fight. Now, can Josh Taylor win this fight by knockout? I mean, I think he can. Yeah, I think he can, but it might be an accumulation, or he might just catch him cold in order to hurt him. Can he win a decision over Catterall? Well, we know whether it be controversial or not, he can. But a deserving decision? Yeah, I think he can. What's more likely? That he wins by knockout or decision? I would absolutely say it's about 80-20, 90-10 in favor of decision over a knockout. What does a win mean for Josh Taylor here? A win continues his quote-unquote prime. I think it keeps him a serious player here at 140, especially a convincing win, and pushes him forward, because Taylor's a name. Guys want to fight Taylor because he was an undisputed champion. So a win means a lot for Josh Taylor because it puts him right back in that mix, that serious mix. It keeps him there, and he doesn't fall to gatekeeper, if that makes sense. Now, what does a loss mean for Taylor? Well, it depends on how he loses. I don't think after the first fight and what he's done since, I don't think many people would be surprised if he loses this fight. But I think he is relegated to moving up in weight or gatekeeper if he suffers a defeat here against Catterall. And it really would hurt him, you know, and even possibly even contemplating retirement if he loses a convincing by convincing manner here. So a loss really does hurt him. It'd be 2 in a row, and he'd really have to reevaluate what he wants to do moving forward for sure. So now we go on to the B side in this rematch. Jack Catterall, former world title challenger. We take a look at what he's done coming into this fight. It dates back to that February 2022 matchup against Josh Taylor, in which he came up short by the controversial decision in a fight that most people thought he should have won. After that, he did not fight for the remainder of 2022 because he was trying to secure the rematch and it never happened. So in 2023, he came back against some guy named, it was Dennis Dugan, something like that, and he got just kind of a lackluster decision. And then last October, he faced off against former 3-division world champion Jorge Linares, and you know, he got a clean decision in that one, but I really thought he should have stopped Linares, so I really wasn't that impressed with his performance overall, because Linares was past it, way past it. He's been stopped plenty of times before, Linares, so I thought that Catterall should have stopped him, and he didn't, so I wasn't too impressed with his performance there. So rolling into this fight, he's obviously hungry. He's been wanting this rematch for over 2 years now. He's, you know, a little bit more, maybe a little bit more confidence in terms of what he's done recently, but I also believe that he's not hot, and neither one of these guys are hot rolling in. So, you know, it's very interesting. Now, what does he need to do? What does Jack Catterall need to do to beat Josh Taylor? And I really think he needs to win the footwork battle. He really does. He should try to draw Taylor into being the aggressor so he can counterpunch, because he seems more comfortable doing that. And also, I think he might be able to catch Taylor and put him down and, you know, hurt him with that kind of style. If he turns into the aggressor and solely the aggressor, that might hurt him against Taylor in this rematch. But we got to wait and see how that works. But I really think he needs to use the footwork battle and try to land his jab and hit those shots on the inside. I really think that's a major factor here, because Taylor has the height advantage. So I do think he needs to try to catch him off balance and work the jab and box, purely box, and force Taylor into being the aggressor. Now, can Jack Catterall win this fight by knockout? I mean, anybody can win any fight by knockout. He did hurt Taylor and put him down the first time. Yeah, I guess the possibility's there. Can he win a decision? I think that's more likely. Yeah, absolutely. And I just answered my next question. What's more likely, a decision or a knockout if Catterall were to win? I think it's way more likely that he wins by a decision. What does a win mean for Jack Catterall? Well, it cements the first fight. It gives him his true biggest win of his career by far. And it moves him to the front of the line of a big division in terms of landing a shot. You know, he can't be avoided anymore. He can't be looked at as a one-hit wonder. You have to look at him, you go, you know what, he did beat Taylor, this guy deserves something. And I think a victory will get him that. Now, what does a loss mean for Jack Catterall? And it really depends on how he loses. I think this fight going in, for most people, it's a 50-50 fight. And if Catterall loses, I don't think many people will be surprised, but the manner in which he loses could be, you know, make a difference here. And I think if he goes out there and gets his ass whipped, then people are really going to look at him as a one-hit wonder. But if he loses a close decision, something along those lines, I think people will still take him serious. He's just going to have to work his way back up. But he's 30 years old. He's got time to do that. So I don't think a loss hurts him, you know, in a close fight. But I think a one-sided loss could definitely hurt him and his, you know, progress going forward. Now, okay, so now we've discussed both fighters. Now, is it better for boxing if Josh Taylor wins this fight, or is it better for boxing if Jack Catterall wins this fight? And for me, I think, you know, my honest opinion is I think it's better for boxing if Taylor wins, because Taylor's a former undisputed champion. He's known. His style's a little bit more attractive. I really watched Catterall versus Linares, and I was not overly impressed with his style. You know, he likes to counterpunch solely. He's not really aggressive. His knockdowns, even against Linares, were more just kind of, he just caught Linares. It wasn't like he was really going for it, which is why I was very unimpressed with his performance against Linares, because he didn't really go for it at all. And I just thought that, I just think that Taylor brings more to the table in terms of bigger fights, you know, and attractive fights because of his name and his resume. So I think it's better for boxing if Josh Taylor wins this fight. And now finally, my prediction. Who do I think is going to win this 140-pound showdown rematch between Josh Taylor and Jack Catterall? And I'm picking Josh Taylor by a close decision. I think Jack Catterall's legit. I think his style is crafty. It's made to make Taylor look bad. And I think his counterpunching ability is good enough to be able to hang with Taylor, because Taylor is, I just think he's not the fighter he was 3 years ago, but I don't think, I think the first fight he was overlooking Catterall for sure. And I think he's somewhere in between the win over Ramirez and the loss to Teofimo Lopez. I don't think he's as bad as what he put out against Lopez, and I don't think he's as good as he was when he beat Ramirez. But I think now that he's fully focused on this rematch, I think he's going to take it serious. But I think Catterall is legit. I think Taylor's going to win a close decision, but it's going to be deserving, and he will push forward. But I will not be surprised if Catterall pulls off this victory. And to be honest, I won't be surprised if either guy wins a convincing fight. So that's it. So that is my Taylor versus Catterall 2 breakdown video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, well, it's the breakdown video, as they will clash at 140 pounds on Saturday, May 25th in the main event of both an ESPN and DAZN card, as they are splitting it. And it'll be earlier in the day if you're in the United States, because the fight is taking place in the United Kingdom. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, smash the like button, leave a comment, or subscribe to the channel. I appreciate any and all support. This is True Boxing. You've been hit with the truth.